Move like the move like
Good morning and what's going on? Welcome to another Subi Shaves video with me on a beautiful day. Hashtag Team All Blade and hashtag No Blade Left Behind. Come on in, throw me a Subi smile, and all I gotta say is squad goals. Thank you for being here, for clicking in today's video, and for joining me. Hopefully wherever you're watching from, you're drinking something cold and caffeinated, sit in a comfy chair, ready for a shave. You know I am. Today I've got just over 72 hours of growth, and we're gonna be knocking it down with the Gillette Fatboy of old. I've got it in hand. I'm absolutely thrilled to be using. This is a butterfly mechanism. It actually, the head cap opens as you twist this dial down here. If you've never seen the razor, it operates using a toggle that is a clicking mechanism that adjusts from 1 to 9, and we're going to be utilizing the razor set at its highest point at 9, the most peak high performance the razor has to offer to knock down the 72 hours of growth. It's going to be a smooth close shave, and as we're shaving today, I wanted to talk about the common question I always get. If you were to go back and look through my questions that I receive on channel and personally, the most common one I get asked is, how much is one of these worth? How much should I pay? How much should I list my razor for? What's a fair market price? What's the fair price? How much, is this a good price for a Gillette or other similar vintage styled razor? And I just want to talk about some of the fallacies, some of the misnomers, and some of the things that you often hear in the craft that maybe aren't true or are very, very opinion based. Again, this is going to be my opinion. I want to very, very strongly, at the very beginning of this, just say this is my opinion on the matter, and I hope it helps and it kind of gives you a baseline and maybe a way to look at the craft that you've never seen before when it comes to pricing out razors. I love this one. It should be a super smooth shave, very, very close, at least based on what the face shave felt like today, and I'm thrilled to have you here for it. We're going to be going over the YAQI companies. This is a collaboration between Master Soap Creations and Grace and her team at YAQI. This is Ouds. I absolutely love this label. It's really unique. I love it. It's got like a crystal ball effect going on here. You can see this rainbow, right? It's got this purple and blue kind of shimmer effect at the bottom. You've got the pirate boat in the back. I think it's really, really cool. The label itself really pops, and it's based on Gucci Ouds, right? It's a very, very famous, very notable, very recognizable scent. It's pear and raspberry saffron up top, and then you got rose and orange blossom in the middle, and patchouli and oud at the bottom. And it's a very, like I said, recognizable scent. For me, when I first cracked the tub open, I was like, wow, this has a lot of I would say sophistication to it. It is opulent. I think opulence is the key word here. Again, it's Gucci. You know it's Gucci. You smell it. If you've ever been into a Gucci store, you've smelled this. This smells like some of the stuff, like their belts, like the Gucci belts. When you go to their store and you're looking at those price tags and you're like, I like this belt. This is what that kind of smells like to me. That store, that department store, it smells upscale. It smells very, very maybe mysterious a little bit. I would not call this a dark scent, but I would definitely call it like rich. I think rich is a really good term. Beautiful. The raspberry and pear for me are very, very fast moving scents. You smell them and then they're gone. You do get the rose. The rose hits. I don't get as much of the orange blossom personally, but then the patchouli and oud, it's there. And one of the things that Gucci actually mentioned in 2014 when the set was released is that they utilized a natural, all natural oud oil. I don't know if this fragrance oil does, but I do like the smell of it, and it does kind of exhibit and perform similarly as far as the scent performance, comparable to the actual Gucci scent. I could tell what it was. I'll say that. I could tell what it was. The actual soap lather today, I did in my Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements scuttle, and I know they do have their own bowls, but I wanted a warm lather today. I really wanted that warm, unctuous, rich, and and breaking their new brush too. I really wanted a warm lather, so I used the Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements scuttle, and this is their brand new brush. I want to really point this out. This is like skeletonized. It's hollow in the inside. You can see through it, right? You can see right through it. It's a aluminum 75-ish, 76-ish gram brush handle, and it's paired with a 24 silver tip badger razor brush, you can just see the knot here. It's very dense. It has a ton of splay. I was reading other early release reviews because this is not on their website yet. You can't actually buy this. This is not available yet on their website. So I was reading some of the other reviews on the YAQI Facebook kind of fan page that other people have gotten them, and what they kind of said is they believe that the actual brush handle, right, the names of it should resemble something with the skeletonized handle. They felt like it was a very, very nice, like a unique offering from YAQI. I like this one a lot. It's very small. If you look at this, it is very small. It's very delicate. It's very light. It definitely, I like the feel of it, and it produces a lot of grip because of the hollow nature to this. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. I like it. I think it's interesting. I have one concern, and the moment I saw it, I said, uh-oh, how are you going to clean it? How are you going to get in there and clean? I'm going to have to get the smallest toothbrush the world has ever seen to get the soap out of the bottom of there. If you're like me, I know I like to keep my stuff really clean, and I think I'm going to struggle to keep that thing clean. This is going to be one of those ones you're going to want to throw into your ultrasonic. At least I think I will. Again, a beautiful, very soft, and again, the brush on this is a silver tip. It's a 24, and it's a soft, so it's a really soft brush tip. I heard somebody say they felt like it was a medium as far as like the brush backbone to it, and I just feel like the backbone on that brush is actually more middle. I think it's not super soft, like where it's just floppy, but it's actually got a nice feel to it. When I was lathering today across the skin, very smooth. It paints really nicely. Again, just going to be releasing. I do not know what it's going to be called or what it's going to cost. Aluminum brush. I think it's really cool. All right, let's get in here. Let's do some shaving, and let's talk about these razors right here. Let's get in here and showcase this one. Let's talk about this one right here, right? When you start shopping around for Gillette vintage razors of old, right? You start looking at the Aristocrats, the open comb ones. You start looking at the rocket tip style, the Aristocrats like this. When you really start comparing the prices, right, it becomes very difficult to determine what one of these goes for. What's a fair price for one? What's the ballpark? Even the marker. Some people will say, I found mine for $5. Other people will say, I paid $200. They'll look identical because they're the same razor. Then you kind of have to start thinking to yourself, well, is there a bell curve for this? What is the bell curve looking like? I think part of the problem with the Gillette adjustable razor, and I'm going to call it out straight up. Listen to me in this moment. If you listen to nothing else, the razor itself was $1.95 in 1959, right? 1959, you go all the way back, it was $1.95. So you have to sit there and think to yourself, okay, what does that equivalent to today's money? Just out of curiosity, if you run that value, right, it's $20.45. $20.45 today does not get you anything close to a razor that's this build quality, that it looks this nice, that shaves this close, and that really it gives you all the adjustable options, right? $20. And I want to call this out because a lot of people will say, well, if only I had $1.95, back in the 50s, I would have a bunch of these things. $20, that's all this thing costs. I just want to mention that in today's market, this does not really exist. I think that's part of the reason so many people are searching for these is because when they come to the craft, they say, what razor shaves awesome? What razor is adjustable? What razor is going to last me for a long, my lifetime most likely, right? And when they say that, I think there's almost like a hesitation from the community because really for $20 back in the day, there wasn't anything that shaves like this today. So now you're like, okay, well, if I'm willing to pay $20, does one exist for $20? I asked ChatGPT what a quality razor, like a Fatboy adjustable razor, would cost. What's a fair market price, right? The fair price. And ChatGPT said $50 to $200. That was the fair market price. And I was like, well, that's a pretty wide spectrum for one of these Fatboy razors, right? So if I was coming in, I would say, okay, well, why is that so large, right? If you were to ask everybody here, we have a pretty good crowd here. You ask everybody here, what's a fair price? I guarantee you're not going to get the same answers from almost anybody, right? Everybody has their own opinion on what one of these should cost. Some of the people are the people that bought these originally for the $1.95. Like, I wouldn't pay over $5. You have to really take into account there's a lot of factors that make the price on one of these razors kind of stay at what it is. And I just want to call this out because I truly believe it in my heart. Your razor is worth what someone is willing to pay. The fair market price, the listed, like what's a good value for it is a fallacy. It's a complete it's a myth. It doesn't actually exist, because as soon as you say, okay, I heard $200 and one post for $5, right? That whole entire concept of a fair market value, a bell curve, is broken, right? Because someone has one for $5 and they may not know what the razor's worth. The razor may not be in great condition as far as a working manner, but you don't know. It's a very hard thing to do when it comes to value for one of these, because you have a thing where, and we're gonna start shaving here, but you have a thing that I really truly believe makes it can sway the side of this razor, and that is between the collectability and the shaveability. So you have people out there that say, well, the razor shaves so good for me, right? Look at this thing, it shaves really, really nicely. So they say it shaves at least at $100 market value, right? I can't find a razor that I can shave it with as well and as close for under $100. So that's what the razor is worth to me. That's what I like to call its shaveability. And you have what I like to call the collectability to the razor. And you have a lot of people out there that don't even want to use this razor. They don't want to load a razor like this. They don't want to, they would rather use a 3-piece razor. Honestly, they don't even like adjustable razors, but it's something that they want to have on their shelf. Those people do exist, and I'm not criticizing them. I'm not saying anything negative about them. I think it's their prerogative, their money, and if they want to own a razor that they just look at, right, and that takes them back to maybe when their dad shaved or their grandfather shaved, and they would sit and watch them, right, and they just want that memory, I think that's awesome. But they are kind of bidding for these razors, and because they are in there bidding for these razors, they are actually looking at values that you may not even contemplate or consider or value. One of them is the actual date stamp. I have seen razors like this that it makes no sense. They go for 4 times that. I've seen ones go for $500 for the right date value. They're looking for a specific value of when the razor was manufactured, and that may be really difficult when you find a razor that looks like it's in great shape and you're like, oh, I want to use this, and you find somebody else out there that's willing to pay 5 times what the market value, the fair price is. And I think that's really why the market value is broken, why the fair price, why ChatGPT's recommendations are just a baseline. That's how I would look at any of these people that say this is worth this. It's just a baseline, because there's always going to be somebody out there that wants it for a different reason you can comprehend, right? It could be a color thing. It could be a date stamp thing. It could actually be just that they like the way that one looks. It's a strange, really almost impossible thing to dial in when it comes to price. And then you also will get people that don't care, that do not want to learn about wet shaving. They have no interest in the hobby, right? Their grandfather passed away. They found the razor in a cabinet. They're cleaning out the house, and they said, I just want to move this item. I have 9 million things that my grandfather had in his life, and I just need to help clean out his life, right? I just need to kind of reorganize and help move things along. So you will see people sell them for $5. The part of the reason I'm doing this video also is because I was heavily requested to do the video when razors like the Gillette Executive, somebody showed me a picture of a Gillette Executive that sold for like $1,500 by Matt, right? That one sold by Matt. There's toggles that go for $8, $9, $1,000, and then you have these razors that are bottom dials, right? The bottom dial Fatboy adjustable razor, where the actual mechanism that adjusts is down here. Very few were made. They were used as kind of a traveler's, like the people that come to your house, the traveling salesman, they would show you one, say, hey, look at this. This is kind of be coming out. It's really unique and really interesting. And they go for a ton of money, right? Collectors want them, but when it comes to the actual shaving and to the quality of the shave, is it worth it, right? Collectability versus shaveability. That's just a coin term that I use. Is it worth the actual inherent value of the shave? Is it as good? And from what I've heard, it's the same as this razor, but it's going for like 8 to 10 times the market value is on this razor. So there's definitely different types of reasons people go and hunt certain razors down. And when it comes to getting a fair market price, it's hard. And again, I just want to call this out because at the $20 price, there's not a lot of razors out today that are going to compare to this, that are going to shave as well as this, and they're going to produce as just a long-lasting a razor that's not going to fall apart, right? It's a quality made, and I did the price $20. Quality is almost almost hard to get today, in my opinion. It's a hard thing to say, but when you're looking at like what's available at 20 bucks, most of the time it's going to last you for like a year. It's going to fall apart. There are exceptions. I do believe that the YAQI the Final Cut is an exception. I do like that razor. I still use mine. I purchased it years ago, and it still works and operates as it should, but it's not going to last the lifetime of my life in a ZMAC quality without some maintenance and without some true care. This is a brass razor, unlike the YAQI Ultima, and it's because it's brass, it's just going to hold up a long time. It can be replated easily if there are problems, and it can be maintained. I really like the Gillette adjustable, and I think it's important to note that Gillette lost money on every single one of these that they sold, right? That was part of their marketing scheme, is they wanted to sell you the razor at a loss so they could get you hooked on the blades. That's not a case anymore. There's so many blade brands, there's so many options, there's so many offerings out there, that because of that, the industry, the manufacturers of razors, they have to get the profit on the razor to stay in business, where Gillette did not have to do that. They were making enough money on their blades where they could hook you on the actual razor. Now, as more options for blades kind of became available, you can see historically that Gillette started lowering their quality and doing cheaper and cheaper razors to kind of combat like losing money on each sell. It's fascinating historically, and it's a thing that it was a historic anomaly, and it doesn't exist anymore. If you want a razor today, you're going to pay for it, and the company has to make profit on it to stay in business, right? That's part of the problem, and part of why I think when people are coming into the craft looking for an adjustable razor or looking for a vintage razor, right, it's really hard to price out. There's these things like that made that razor historically worth it was probably worth a lot more money than they were charging. So it's even hard to say what's the value of it, intrinsically, because the price of it originally was kind of at a loss. Look at the shave here. Close, comfortable, absolutely elegant, smells amazing. Oh, I love that Gucci oud in the scent. Oh, it just smells so nice. It smells so familiar. It smells really rich. It smells very posh. Oh, opulence, mysterious. It's very mysterious. I like that one a lot. Let's do some splash on. Let's keep talking here. I in my opinion, this the whole entire market value fair price thing, it's a fallacy. It's a total misnomer. It's overly stated. In my personal opinion, inside of our craft, I think there's a lot of razors out there that shave at a much higher value than they are cost, right? The intrinsic versus extrinsic style. So like we just used it. I'm going to get it out. The Dracont razor, right? $369. That's the intrinsic value of the razor. They're saying to manufacture, to make this, to produce this, to stay in business, to make this $369. So that's the value. And then what happens is when I use that razor a couple times and I go to sell it on the marketplace, right, I have to sit there and say, okay, what's the fair value on a used product? The intrinsic value at the new price is $369. Extrinsically, right, what is somebody else willing to pay for it? What are the external variables that make this razor valuable, right? What are the things that make this razor, the titanium, the lightness, the fact that Subi Shaves owned it? Does that matter, right? All those things come into play when it comes to the extrinsic value and to the price that I'm going to put it on the marketplace. And talking about extrinsic value with adjustables and vintage razors in general it's a challenge. It really is a challenge, especially when you're talking about a razor that's no longer produced, right? When you look at something like the charcoal goods, right? Something you see listed usually for 2 or 3 times X what it was sold for. If it was $180, $200, $250 from the charcoal goods originally, and you're seeing them go for $8, $9, $1,000, right? It's kind of one of those things where you have to say, okay, why? What's the reasoning behind that? What's the extrinsic and what's the intrinsic value? The intrinsic value, it sold for like $300. The extrinsic value is it's no longer made. You have a lot of people looking for specific design, style, handles. They're looking for things that are aesthetic versus just, they have nothing to do with the shave quality, just based on how it looks, how it assembles, maybe some of the different tolerances offered by razors. Rex Ambassador coated M razors, right? Something that is not often discussed, but the early model of Rex razors is highly sought after by certain collectors, right? They pay a lot more money for the early razors that there's very few of them of, but it's even a razor that's still manufactured to better tolerances now. So they're actually looking for a less quality shave, in my opinion, opinion, a more aggressive shave, a more sharp shave because of the corners, some of the things that were dialed in later point, and they're willing to pay more for those things. It's really difficult when you're battling for a collectible item to use, right? It's like if I wanted to go out and buy a car at Mecum Auto, right? And I was like, okay, I want to just use this. I want a 1970 Chevelle. It's going to be awesome. I want the 454. I want that cowl hood, but I'm going to use it every day, right? I'm going to be really battling, and I'm going to be bidding against collectors, people that don't want to do anything but put that car under a bubble. And that's how a lot of these safety razors of old are, right? There's people that just want to sit them on a shelf and just look at them and admire them and appreciate their historical value, right? It puts this in a difficult position, and it makes that fair market price and kind of, you know, what should things be worth, kind of a loose, very suggestive concept, right? I just want to mention that again. If you're looking at things, ChatGPT did seem to be pretty accurate when I was doing some different brands and going through different prices, but I mean, take it for what it's worth. My opinion is it's all an illusion. It really is. You have to buy on something. You have to pay what you want to pay, expecting that you may not get that money back, and hoping, right, that somebody else values the same things that you do and is willing to pay the same price. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you. Let me know in the comments below. I know this is a kind of a heated and a highly debated topic, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And until I see you down in the comments, it's been an awesome shave, and it's awesome to have you guys here. And I'll see you in our next one. Subs out.